Hello and welcome. If you're new, thanks for stopping by. If you're a subscriber, I just want to take a second to say thank you. I've really appreciated all the engagement, the likes and the comments and the shares over the last few months. It's really been awesome and encourages me to continue to create. You may remember a while back, I did a video that you guys really liked a lot on the Apple AirPods and basically comparing real ones versus fake ones to make sure that you don't get scammed. Well, because you guys like that one so much, I decided to do another one now on the Apple AirPods Pro. I recently bought 2 pairs of fake ones to compare versus a pair of real ones that I have, so you guys can know what to look out for and how they compare to the real thing. With that said, let's get started. We're going to break this video into 4 different parts. In the first part, we're going to talk about the physical differences of the actual box. So you could tell from a first impression of seeing the box whether or not this is a real one or a fake one. Number 2, we're going to talk about the physical differences. So we'll look at the actual AirPods Pro, compare the fake ones versus the real ones, and so you can see what the physical differences are to be able to tell them apart. Third, we're going to talk about the actual software differences. So looking at iOS, seeing how it connects, which features work, which features don't work, so you can tell that way between the real and the fake. And then lastly, I'm gonna do kind of a mini review almost. It was pretty highly requested in the last AirPods video, so I wanted to do that here. And in that, I'll just go over basically my experiences with them, what worked well, what didn't work well, how they sounded, and basically just giving you an overall impression of what I found. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. First, let's take a look at the physical box. These are actually both of the fake ones I purchased, and this is the real one. Now, the first difference is very obvious. Take a look at the difference in size here. You're looking at about a ½ inch difference between the real box and the fake ones. Now, real quick, before we pull out the real ones, let me show you the difference between these 2 fake ones, so you can kind of get an idea of how there's some different kinds out there. Now I noticed that some things were different, but also there were some things that were very similar. Both here have a plastic insert. They also both have some kind of plastic bag covering their AirPods. And last, they both have this protective blue tape. Other than that, no real big differences. But when it came between the 2, I did prefer these ones. These ones sounded a little better in my ears, so we're going to use those to compare to the real AirPods. And here they are. Let's go ahead and open these up. Now, before we move past it, let's take a really quick look at the lid, because there's a few differences that I noticed here. The first one is you have the AirPods Pro logo on the top. And the second is that you actually do have a label on the bottom of the box that you do not have on the fake ones. And lastly, the Apple logo on the side of the box is found on the real ones and not on the fake ones. Now, as we move forward, just to avoid any confusion, I just want to point out that the fake ones will always be on the left and the real ones always on the right. Now, the first thing to point out here as we take a look inside the box is that the real ones did have plastic on it that goes from top to bottom and left to right, kind of like the original AirPods, but there is no bag like the fake ones. Now, as we move on to the next few differences, I'm going to try to move through these fairly quickly. First up, we've got a plastic insert on the fake ones and a paper insert on the real ones. Now, I know we mentioned it before, but this blue tape, you should never find it on the real AirPods. Now with that ugly tape removed, I'm sure you can spot the next difference. On the fake ones, there's no charging light, but on the real ones, we have the charging light. And this leads us to our next point. The fake ones do not wirelessly charge, while the real ones do. So that's it for the first glance, so let's go ahead and pull these out of the box and take a little bit of a closer look. So if we pull out the plastic insert in the fake box, beneath you'll find some replaceable earbuds. You'll find a manual that says AirPods Pro on it. Remember that for later. And then also you're going to find a lightning type charging cable for charging the case itself. Now, if we pull out the paper insert on the real AirPods Pro, you'll find, of course, your lightning cable and the interchangeable earbuds for different ear sizes. All right, on to the main course. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the actual AirPods. And just again to reiterate, we're always going to have the fake ones on the left and the real ones on the right. No confusion this time, I'm making sure. All right, now as we take a look at the cases, you can see here, here's the charge port on the bottom. And on the real ones here, we have kind of a silver outline, whereas on the fake ones, we don't really quite have that. And then as we flip them over, you can see here we've got a design by Apple in California, made in China, a little text there, but we've got a metal hinge and the button. And you can see on the fake ones, we don't have either of those. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the AirPods themselves. I think first thing you notice here is on the real AirPods, you have the ear sensor, so it knows when it's in your ear. And then there you can see on the fake ones here that there is no sensor. Another small detail is that the L on the headphone showing that this is for the left ear, we have on the real ones, but we do not on the fake ones. And also, like the other fake AirPods, you'll notice that the little grate there, those are actually painted on, unlike on the real ones where there's an actual grate for sound to escape. All right, now before we flip into the software piece, let's go ahead and flip these over. I'm just going to point out a few other little things here on the other side before we move on. So first we see the grate here, similar story, real on the real ones, fake on the fake ones, just painted on basically. Then we've also got a little hole here on the side, which we don't have on the real ones, and that's used basically for the microphone. And another thing we don't have is noise canceling. If we push and hold the little sensor here to try to turn on noise canceling, we actually get this light. And you can see there's a little sensor in there. And this is actually powering these AirPods on and off. So you don't really have noise canceling at all. So next, let's go ahead and jump into the software. Now to get these AirPods to connect, it was really strange. They would only prompt the connection when you're removing the left AirPod from the actual case. And when you did that, you'd be greeted with the connect screen. So then you could click connect. This is obviously emulating the chip that's in the Apple AirPods. So they'd connect and it would run you through obviously some of the options of things you can do. But of course, as we saw, things like the noise control don't actually work. So that's not really an option, but they do a pretty decent job here of faking it. And here we go. Here are your AirPods Pro. I'm sure you'll remember that earlier from the book. Now let's go ahead and jump into the settings. You'll see everything here looks fairly normal. AirPods Pro at the top. And if we try to do the ear fit test, we only get about a second of audio. And usually that takes about 3 to 5 seconds. So it's definitely faking it. And we also know it's faking the noise control because no matter what you do, noise cancellation off, transparency, there's absolutely no change. And even if you go into the press and hold AirPods section and you decide to change this to Siri, of course we know as you press and hold, it's just going to power off the AirPods. So that just won't work. All right, so now let's go ahead and wrap this video up talking about quality. When it came down to the fake ones, honestly, they didn't sound great, but they weren't terrible. The funny part is actually comparing these ones to these other ones, I actually preferred these ones here. They actually sounded better in my ears and had a better seal. And one thing that was really a problem for me that you don't have on the real ones, but you do have on the fake ones, is the audio on the fake ones when watching video was about a half second off. So it was really, really distracting. Now the next thing isn't that big of a deal, but there's no sensor on the fake ones. So because it can't detect when they're in or out of your ears, it can't stop the music. So basically, by touching that sensor, it's only going to play and pause. So when you actually take them out of your ears, it's kind of faking having a sensor because you're going to end up touching that sensor anyway to pause the music. But of course, on the real ones, it has the little sensor on the bottom. So it's just automatically going to stop, play and pause the music when you take them out. Now, the last two things were kind of frustrating to me. On the fake ones, I actually was having music cut out, sometimes for 3 to 5 seconds in the left earphone. And my phone was only about 3 feet away, so it really shouldn't have been cutting out. And then the last thing is basically the microphone on the fake ones. It's actually terrible. It's very muffled, and you just really, really can't hear very well. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. For me, Honestly, not really that good of a copy. I think the other AirPod copies were way better. This one is pretty obvious which one's real and which one's not. As far as functionality goes, I mean, yes, there's a few things that don't work, and you've got the audio video sync issues, the microphone, the battery display, not quite right. There's definitely some things that are funky. But I mean, if you're looking for a $20 pair of AirPods that are fake and you can buy them on eBay or wish.com, I mean, they work for music just fine, honestly. If you can live without, not all the bells and whistles, then they're not that bad. For me, I'd rather spend the money, spend the difference, get a pair of used ones like these ones are, or refurbished ones. I want to have the noise canceling. I want to have the audio and video synced. I want to have the microphone working so I can talk on the phone. Those are all things that are important to me, so I'd be willing to pay the difference. If you guys have any other questions, drop them in the comments below. If this was helpful, if you enjoyed it, please leave me a like. And if you guys would like to see more content, please do subscribe. I'm getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. It's super exciting. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.